Hello, everybody. Welcome to Volume 7 in our Antonio Sledge series relating to various misstatements of fact and misrepresentations concerning Antonio Sledge. This is actually the second take because I kept saying Anthony Sledge instead of Antonio, but here we are. This video is going to relate to a case that some of you may recall. I've discussed it in several of the preceding videos. SC138994. If you watch the YSL trial, you may remember this as the infamous Alford Plea case. But what's interesting about this case that didn't come up during the trial is there are actually two guilty plea hearings. And the first one went awry due to some mistaken statements made by the prosecutor who was running the hearing. Some of you may recognize the name. But let's go to page 5. Here we go. It was a waiver of the indictment. As you see, this is I'm just slide this over for you. Guilty plea colloquy. Has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge you are pleading to? Yes. And let me show you real quick what that maximum is in total. It is actually 170 years, and that will become relevant after I get through some more of this colloquy. Here we have, for the record, the sentencing ranges being read by Attorney Adrian Love. And I'm not going to go through all of these right this second, but a big part of the problem is this part right here. Sentence range for criminal damage to property in the first degree is 1 to 20 years. The sentence range for criminal damage to property in the second degree is 1 to 10 years. And if you go down a little bit, what you'll see is that Derek Wright does advise, well, he doesn't advise, I shouldn't say that. He does request that Antonio be given the opportunity to withdraw his guilty plea upon announcement of the sentence, and of course you don't have to do that, but they can permit it, and some do. But let's go back to a reading of a count-by-count of sentencing exposure for each count. I'm not going to read through all of them, but some of these are particularly relevant. Count 6, that would be criminal damage in the first degree. Defendant faces 20 years. Count 7, that's second degree, 10 years. And then to get down here, count 11. Defendant faces a maximum of 20. Count 12 faces a maximum of 20. Those are both 10, not 20. The court says that's 170 years, which is the correct. I think the correct number is actually 175, but whatever. It's either 170 or 175. That's what the correct maximum exposure should be. What Attorney Love read was 210 years because, as I will show you, there are some discrepancies in the sentencing exposure. The court says, can you give me the year of potential release? Attorney Love says 2228. The court says, so the defendant would be eligible for release in 2028, which you may notice is a 200-year difference. Attorney Love says if the court were to sentence him consecutively on each, he would be eligible 2028. Love says that's correct. It is, in fact, not correct. It is 2228, not 2028. But in any event, the guilty plea did not go through because Antonio did not want to go through with the guilty plea in light of the fact that his sentencing exposure was so dramatically overstated. And I realized I kind of flew through that, so what I want to do now is go to Westlaw and show you some of the nuts and bolts of what I was just talking about. Put up on my screen here. So this is criminal damage to property in the first degree. It was actually updated in 2023. That's why you see this yellow highlight here. The sentencing exposure has actually changed. Funnily enough, it's actually changed to the number that was said back in 2015. So if those numbers had been up today, that'd actually be correct. But you'll see here, person convicted of criminal damage to property in the first degree shall be punished by imprisonment for not less than 1 nor more than 10 years. Again, that's criminal damage in the first degree. Second degree, You'll see here, this is for July 2008 to June of 24. Sentencing range is, whoa, okay, 1 to 5 years. So let me go back to the indictment here. So this is the indictment. You'll see there are a variety of, let me see, I think it was 6, 7, see, first and second degree. And then 11 and 12 are both first degree. So 6, 7, 11, 12. Go back here. So 6 should be 10 years. 7 should be 5 years. 11 should be 10 years. 12 should be 10 years. So in the aggregate, these were overstated by, let me see, 35 years. And I'll show you a little, here we go. Okay. So you'll see here, counts 6 and 7 were overstated by 10 and 5 years respectively, and then 11 and 12 were both overstated by 10 years. As a result, the state said the sentencing exposure was 210 years when the correct number was 175 years. Okay, now jumping ahead a couple months to when the guilty plea, the Alford plea, was actually entered. We have our transcript here. State of Georgia versus Antonio Slade. Yeah. See the same case number, 138994. See that the prosecutor is now Charlie Bailey. So it is a different prosecutor, or as Brian Steele calls him, the Honorable Charlie Bailey. And I will show you the, oh, I went too far ahead there. Here we go. Mr. Bailey is reading the sentencing exposures, reads them correctly. Count 6, 10 years for first degree criminal damage property, and then he reads 5 years for second degree. I think he's actually wrong about the gang act counts, but different episode. Chapter 11, 10 years, or count 11. Sorry, my bankruptcy brain was kicking in there. Count 11, 10 years. Count 12, 10 years, rather than the 20 that were read in the prior guilty plea hearing. So eventually they were read out correctly, and Mr. Bailey recommended a dramatically lower sentence for Mr. Sledge on account of the fact that he did not have a firearm and was less culpable in the state's eyes than his co-defendants, as he was unequivocally and indisputably not a shooter in the events in question and was at most tangentially involved. So that is the end of this, and yeah, I'll probably go back to the YSL case in the next video, but I thought it'd be fun to take a look at some of the historical inaccuracies to kind of flesh out and give color to the relationship between, you know, this one specific defendant, but also, you know, I'm sure there are similarly situated defendants, between such defendants and the state and the prosecutors, and why one may be hesitant to trust representations made by these prosecutors or give credence to their statements, because you have to constantly be on guard that they may be overstating your sentencing exposure or misstating other things. And these things can always come back around. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I have an 8th video soon. I haven't decided the topic yet, but yeah, thanks for watching.